This is the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about Agatha All Along, Episode 1, Seekest Thou the Road.
Hey, Miss Agnes, you feeling okay
Stop
today?
talking! How long have I been here?
What?
How long have I been living in this cesspool of a town?
You don't remember.
Catch me up.
About 3 years.
3 years? What?
Oh, we try not to say her name.
Ugh, because you're cowards. Because you're sheep. What have I been doing all this time?
Well, you mostly been a good neighbor, a bit too casual with your boundaries.
Call me nosy, I'll cut out your tongue.
Welcome back, witches. Yes, this is the Defenders podcast on TV Podcast Industries. I am one of your Natural Sciences hosts, John.
Welcome back, witches. I'm one of your other hosts, Derek. Oh, John, I've got my witch's brew.
Oh, have you now?
I do.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, it's
the oldie witchy potion.
yes, well, it's rum and Coke. Rum was around for a very long time. So-
Oh, is it about to go off?
it is, yes. I'm drinking it like it is. No, I'm joking. We are back with the Marvel TV universe. Did
I
you
know.
notice that? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, Marvel TV.
Yeah.
But not only that, it feels ages since Echo at the start of the year.
Absolutely,
So
it does.
really good to be back
Yeah.
with Marvel, whether it's Marvel Studios,
Yeah.
Marvel Television, Marvel TV, Marvel whatever it might be. It is
Yeah.
a marvel to be back with Marvel.
It is. It just feels like a year where we haven't had much Marvel. And this is our 10th anniversary, which I was talking about earlier on. This is our 10th anniversary of podcasting this year. And at the moment, we have Marvel back with Agatha All Along. We have Gotham back on television with The Penguin coming out
Absolutely.
this week. We started out our podcasting career as Gotham TV Podcast 10 years ago. So having both of those in a week is a lot. And not only do we have Gotham back and Marvel back, we also are covering The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. So we have Tolkien on the podcast too. So we have everything that we could possibly want in our 10th anniversary, John. But we are going to jump in and have a lot of fun with Agatha All Along, I think. The sequel to WandaVision, right?
Oh, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, even actually the way the Marvel Television logo is kind of conceived looks very much like WandaVision.
It does.
But equally, in this episode, we do have that kind of nice little sort of lean into the Scandinavian detective, the Scando detective shows with WandaVision with an H and a Y.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, this is WandaVision, the second season.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
to my mind.
Exactly, and it's like as if they've taken some characters from WandaVision Season 1 and had a spin-off and very connected to WandaVision. But we are, of course, going to spoil every single little thing about the first episode of WandaVision. So make sure you've gone out and watched it. It's on Disney Plus right now.
Absolutely. 2 episodes have dropped on Disney Plus.
Yes.
But we are going to kick in with our spoiler-filled discussion, fellow Defenders, with episode 1 of Agatha All Along. Seekest Thou the Road?
Yes.
Dear friend, in parentheses.
I'm really hoping these are the names of the episodes.
Yeah, me too. At the moment, we're taking these titles from the screeners that we've been given. So normally screeners kind of come to you as though it's like a Meccano Lego kit that's made. So you wouldn't know it's by Lego and you wouldn't have any clue who's made it.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that the name of the podcast is plastered over the screen
Right through the
along
middle.
with normally someone's name. So it's difficult to know whether it's just kind of a quote for this episode or whether it is actually the episode title. So apologies if it isn't Seekest Thou the Road for episode 1.
We tried our best, and it gave us the ability to watch them early, which is awesome. Thanks so much
Exactly.
to Disney Ireland for that. Really good of them to provide the episodes to us early. And they are a lot of fun. We will get into discussing it. But of course, we talked about all the stuff that we're going to be covering at the moment. If you're not subscribed to us, make sure you go over to tvpodcastindustries.com. You can subscribe to any Wiccan or Android-loving podcast player over there of your choice to subscribe to TV Podcast Industries, and you get access to all the shows we're covering, including, of course, Agatha All Along. We would love to hear your thoughts as you've watched the episodes. You can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries, where you can join the chat all about the episodes of Agatha All Along.
Absolutely. Derek, give us some of the episode details, will you?
Really easy one this time to talk about our episode details. Jac Schaeffer was the showrunner for WandaVision, and she's back once again as the showrunner for Agatha All Along. And she wrote and directed this episode, the first episode of Agatha All Along.
Excellent stuff.
Quite cool, huh?
Yeah, very good. Always a good sign in our TV podcast industry's lore.
It
or
is.
indeed Gotham TV podcast or Defenders TV podcast lore, as has gone through the ages of podcastery, for sure.
Yeah.
That if the showrunner is kind of involved, at least in the writing, if nothing else, in the first and last episodes, you normally get quite a good show because they like to bookend so that the start and the end and then the middle is a collaborative effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But you'd also think what the cool thing about this is Jac Schaeffer was the showrunner for WandaVision, the first and probably most successful of all of the Marvel TV shows. So bringing her back on board to do this sequel series, focusing on the character of Agatha, who's the best person to do that? The person that knows that story so well and figured out how to create this interesting version of Agatha Harkness in the comic books. A very much background character, but absolutely came to the fore in WandaVision. So very excited to get chatting about Agatha Harkness when we get into it. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Agatha All Along, Episode 1, Seekest Thou the Road?
Sure. In the quiet town of Westview, Detective Agnes O'Connor arrives at a cliché crime scene where a woman's dead body has been found with blackened hands. She's the only one that can solve the case. During her investigation, dealing with many familiar Westview residents, she learns the woman was killed in Eastern Europe and her body has been dropped in Westview. Back at the station, FBI agent Vidal is stereotypically put on the case too. Agnes hates the agent but can't remember why. Agent Vidal pays a visit to the characteristically lonely Agnes to try to get her to remember who she is. While the women drink together, a teenager breaks into Agnes's house. She chases down and captures the teen, but while questioning him, he tells Agnes he knows who she really is and begins speaking in Latin. He has cast a spell that begins to break Wanda Maximoff's hold on Agnes. With a final push from Agent Vidal, Agnes learns her real name. It was Agatha all along. She learns that following the death of Wanda, Agatha experienced a break from the character of Agnes and began living out a fantasy as a true crime detective with the help of the other Westview residents. Agent Vidal reveals herself to be a rival witch who wants to punish Agatha for all her previous transgressions. She's not the only one. Other witches, known as the Salem Seven, also want to punish Agatha, but she negotiates with Vidal to wait until she's back to full power before defeating her. With Vidal dealt with, Agatha turns her attention to the young magic user who broke her free from the Scarlet Witch's spell. Ooh, yes, very, very good. Who is this young teen? This unknown magic user, I wonder.
Well, yes,
I have a theory.
We have lots of theories, but he is played by Joe Locke from Heartstopper, one of our favourite little shows.
That is true. That is
lovely,
very true.
Lovely, cute gay show on Netflix. Coming back for its third season next month. So very much looking forward to seeing Joe Locke over there as well.
Yeah, but I'm really pleased to see him in this and to see what he deals up in this show, to be honest. So cannot wait to get into our spoiler-filled spells.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what I will say really quickly? His accent's really good. His American accent's really
good.
He only slipped up once or twice.
There were a few times where he kind of sounded a little bit sort of squeaky English. boy, but he is also 23.
He
so,
is.
I mean, that's the other side of it. It's kind of like, okay.
He's playing a 16-year-old.
Yeah, he's playing a 16-year-old, but he's 23. So let us get into our top spells. Without further ado, spell number 1, the True Detective in the Twin Peaks of Westview. It is WandaVision Season 2 and the opening, Episode 1, which is all paying homage to that Scando detective sort of vibe.
Absolutely. Yeah, lots of little touches here that are references to that, to the Scando true crime dramas that were coming out. But I do think there's a lot of Americana over the last a couple of decades that really is about those true crime detectives. You know, True Detectives was massively popular, especially this last season with Jodie Foster.
Absolutely.
Excellent show, excellent season of the show, but all the way back to the original season.
Matthew McConaughey, I mean, really good.
Really,
I love
good.
that.
Woody Harrelson,
that season.
They even did a poster tribute for Agatha All Along, which had Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn striking the pose from the original True Detective. So they knew they were also taking from American true crime stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely a moment in the opening sequence where the welcome plaque welcoming you into Westview looks exactly like the Twin Peaks plaque.
Yeah.
And you know, so they know what they're referencing. But as you say, that cool little touch that's in there that says this is based on the Danish series WandaVision. I thought that was a really fun touch. But as we go out through the episode, we meet loads of our characters that we saw in Westview in the first season, in WandaVision, the first season. I love this touch because just like back in WandaVision, which had every episode representing a half-hour comedy series, here, even though we're representing a true crime show, we have all of the characters that we met in WandaVision playing different roles again. You know, I love the idea. That's
definitely it. I mean, we are under no illusions this is WandaVision Season 2. Like, down to the, you know, the style for this show.
Yeah.
It is the returning cast as well, which is so good to see. I mean, it is, given we've watched the second episode, which is also going to be available to anyone who watches it when it's released, then you'll see that it's a touching point for these two. It's a bridge, you know, and in a sense, I think this episode is very much a bridging episode to some degree.
Yeah.
It picks us up where we left off with, you know, seeing this familiar character in Agnes, going through, you know, this investigation for a murdered woman in a similar vein to the way we saw Wanda and Vision and everyone else in the previous one. So it's really, really good.
Yeah, and I'm sure Jack Schaefer was asked the question a few times since she did WandaVision. Could lightning strike twice? Could you do the same kind of thing you did with the first season? Could you make the second season into something similar, like every episode is a genre? And here she's paying homage to it by doing a true crime episode in this first episode. But the break happens in the first episode. It doesn't happen 7 episodes in after she's done loads of different types of true crime shows, which you absolutely could have done. You could have done that for the second season. So I love that she's played the nod to it. I love that we get to see characters like Dottie and Herb and Dennis and Phil and Norm and Mrs. Hart. You get to see all of them back playing different roles within this genre type. And you're thinking, or at least I was thinking watching the episode, oh, they're all back under some kind of spell again. Maybe Agatha has broadcast a spell out there that turns it all into a true crime. They're all playing these roles. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what I quite like, and I guess we'll get into it more with spell number 4, but I like the fact that, in a sense, you know, you could see it as, and I think Agatha says, you know, that, you know, have you been humoring me, when she finds the reality?
Yeah.
But it's actually, you know, Herb and others have been helping her. They've been allowing her to be this detective. And, you know, so through the course of this episode, she is running this investigation to find out who the murdered woman is in the woods. You can clearly see that it is some kind of magic user from the black fingertips that you get from using magic, at least in the Marvel Universe. And that comes a bit later as to the actual reveal. But I like the fact that with a number of the different clues, like the finding of the sort of library check card, you have Dottie Jones as the librarian. Agnes's colleague, her police colleague, is Herb Feltman, also her neighbor.
I love that his first line to her is, "Hello, neighbor. Didn't expect you to be here." And it's like when you realize that Herb's playing along with this, what he thinks is a fantasy world that she's experiencing, you go, "Oh, that's really interesting." He went, "Hello, neighbor," to her, didn't expect to see you here, and then went, "Oh, I need to play this role in her fantasy."
Exactly. And we see all these people are playing a role when confronted with Agnes.
Yeah.
There's Phil Jones as chief of police, who's Dottie's husband, but also then we have Norm, who's the pawnbroker, who's looking at one of the clues that she's picked up from the crime scene. And of course, it's kind of slightly veiled in mystery in the sense that, she has been assigned this by someone who says, "You're the only person that can do this." Well, I think it was from the chief of police, but, and goes to Norm with this brooch, this locket that finds, which is very recognizable from the season 1 of WandaVision. So this is really kind of just nicely played as we move through this this investigation. I think the other thing that I like about this investigation is ultimately the reveal of who the murdered woman is.
Absolutely.
Really good. Link straight into the MCU. And I like that. And I always like that about WandaVision. It was really kind of quite sort of full on and open about how it connected in with the MCU. Sometimes I thought other Marvel shows did it maybe a bit less so, or I guess they had another kind of element to it, which was trying to introduce characters, which is also maybe a bit different, certainly when they've not had a full movie or 10 movies.
Exactly.
But I like that they play into this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things I love about this section of the show is the true crime tropes that you get. I really enjoy the reveal when the police chief is talking to Agnes and saying to her, "You're not going to like what happens next." And guess what? She's got a brand new partner that she doesn't like that's arrived that has to be involved in the case. Something you see in every single one of these true crime police shows. You even see Agent Vidal turning up at the house later on, played by Aubrey Plaza, which turns up at Agnes's house going, the trope is that you can't possibly have a happy life and also be a detective. You have to have a whole house that's destroyed and you have to be separated. You have to be sitting alone, drinking on your own late at night.
That's it, yeah. I mean, but even I like the trope of the fact that she is the FBI agent. She kind of comes in almost as though she's going to take over this local investigation. And you have that conversation between Agnes and Agent Vidal where it's like, so what is this? Is it because the body crossed county lines, state lines, and all this kind of stuff? So I kind of really, really enjoyed just those little nods, to that kind of genre.
Yeah. But before we talk about Aubrey Plaza's Agent Ria Vidal, let's talk about the teen for our spell number 2. So we have Joe Locke playing this role here as the teen who breaks into Agatha's house while Agent Vidal is over visiting and having a couple of drinks, as you do in a stereotypical Scandinavian drama. So he's broken into the house.
Yeah, I mean, it's an introduction, isn't it, really? In this episode, it's simply this introduction, and it's kind of slightly shrouded, slightly weird in that this thief this goth thief knows more about Agnes than she knows about him. And that, things become a little weird. It's like there is this unpicking of the spell that Wanda Maximoff has put on. And I think other people pick that spell, including the FBI agent. But it's like, all of a sudden, the interrogation after she's captured him for breaking and entering becomes weird. First of all, Agnes suddenly thinks that he could be the murderer because, she's really got nothing else to sort of hang on why he would be sort of breaking into her house.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, the murder pics that she's showing him become pictures of flowers. Yeah. The two-way mirror that Agent Vidal has been behind suddenly becomes a framed picture.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this youngster, this thief, starts to recount Latin phrase over and over again.
I do love, though, the interrogation when Agnes says to him, what did you come here for? What did you steal from my house? And he goes, I came here looking for someone that had the respect of their peers and a decent home life, but didn't find either here.
Yeah, no.
Great line from the teen.
It is really good. And ultimately, then Agnes really kind of is slightly weirded out by this, and so says, you're spending the night here in lockup.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. She goes back to find out, she's kind of been, her interest has been piqued. She's now intrigued, and so
I love how he reveals that the crime scene photographs are effectively pictures of the flowers between her and Herb's garden next door. Again, as we get that reveal later on of what's actually been happening with Agnes, you realize that she's making all this stuff up. But I just love the idea that she would be standing in her garden taking photographs of the marigolds next door or the sunflowers next door and thinking this is the dead body that she's investigating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think we can go on to spell number 3 as well, because another person that's instrumental here in kind of jolting Agnes out of her sort of blurry existence in Westview is the FBI agent Rio Vidal.
Yeah.
And I like how this is made so obvious. You could have kept this kind of under the radar, but you realize there's more to Agent Vidal than meets the eye. We have this great moment where she's asking Agnes, do you remember why you hate me? And it's because the phrase, is pointed at her in terms of her as Agatha Harkness, not as Detective Agnes.
Exactly.
But it equally plays as well in Detective Agnes kind of getting her back up over the fact that the FBI has come in and is treading on the feet of the local law enforcement, which is part of that wonderful crime trope that's happening here, where it's like, the FBI have come in, and we even get those kind of references, which is, are you here because the body crossed state and county lines? That's why we can't have full jurisdiction over this investigation. So it's all kind of done really well. Yeah. But I really like the introduction here of Agent Rio Vidal, who, as I say, is equally there to pull Agnes out of this blur, but for very different reasons, I suspect, than the teen.
Yeah. And it does, again, touch back to what was happening in WandaVision. We didn't realize until about episode 4 of WandaVision that Wanda Maximoff knew exactly what was going on at all times. This was her vision that she was creating. Here, it's Agnes being subsumed by the spell that was put on her. So, Agent Vidal trying to break her out of it, and the teen trying to break her out of it, is trying to reach in beyond the spell that's there. I really like that idea. I do love how Aubrey Plaza plays this role of Agent Vidal, though. I think it's really interesting that she's come in and it's like she's got that smirk on her face the whole time. She always plays that in all the roles that we've seen her do. She was in Legion playing the Shadow King. She played a brilliant role in White Lotus. She was in Parks and Rec as well as in a great comedy show. But she always has that smirk behind it, and it's used really well with Agent Vidal. What you see here is this rival of Agatha Harkness's who's walked into this situation, and she's going, hang on a second, this woman believes she's in a true crime TV show?
Yeah.
I'm going to just play along with this and work out what the heck is going on.
But that's what's
really
so
fun.
good as well. You can sense that it's not necessarily all the satisfaction that she is craving, and as we see as the episode goes on, but there is an element of satisfaction of seeing her rival in Agnes kind of being so petty and weak around what she's doing and not being in control. So she's actually reveling in it, but at the same time,
a reveling rival.
She's not reveling in it because she wants, and as we find out, she wants to properly rival Agatha Harkness, not Detective Agnes.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that, when they discuss the case, she's constantly saying and trying to disrupt the train of thought and the logic of Detective Agnes's investigation.
Yes.
So it's like, you say she was dropped there, there's no tracks of the victim. Oh, she must have been carried there. Yes, but there's no tracks of the Jane Doe or the perpetrator here. It's like she's just landed there out of thin air, and it's like Agnes is kind of, whoa, stop with this kind of like, there's no conceivable way that could have happened, and it's just
was it
really,
was
really
it magic? Do you think it was magic?
Yeah, exactly.
I love the push from her.
It's really good.
Yeah, and that push to the final reveal as she kind of builds on what the teen has done when he's cast the magic spell, the Latin, to break that connection. When Vidal is standing in the room going to her, there are two Jane Does in here. When the reveal, it's Wanda Maximoff's body in there. There's two Jane Does in here. Who's the other Jane Doe? And that pushes it over the edge to Agnes revealing it was Agatha all along.
That's it, exactly. And let's just sort of linger on that a moment. It's really good. I love that this, is a tie-in to Multiverse of Madness, and the fact that all the Darkholds were destroyed in that moment, hence the fire at the library.
Yes.
I love that the Darkhold would be in natural sciences, which is kind of interesting to me.
Wow.
Where you kind of would expect the natural sciences to be rather than sort of magic. But I love that the book is not explicitly referenced as the Darkhold here, but it as the dialogue and rhetoric, known history of learning and debate by Andrew Ugo. I'm not entirely sure about the Andrew Ugo reference.
No idea.
But nonetheless, then you can take out Darkhold from that title.
I genuinely, when watching the episode, I was writing this down. I was going to use this as our pub quiz question for the first episode, and I wrote down the name of the book, and I was going, I wonder, does this mean anything? Maybe if I just take the initial letters, and as I did it, Agatha Harkness on screen was going D-A or K. I'm like, oh my God, it's the Darkhold. Of course, because again, this is connecting into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The decision at the end of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was that all Darkholds across all timelines, across all of the multiverse would be destroyed. And here we are, this book that has been so central to Agatha Harkness's life is destroyed in her hometown. And the place where all the other copies of the book would be is burnt. So the external world seeping into Agatha Harkness's world before it's revealed to her what's happening. I loved it. I love the idea.
Absolutely. It's a really good connection. I really, really enjoyed that. And I think as well, all these, again, the Darkhold is such a huge influence. Again, it's another jolt almost. You can see her pause and then she's interrupted by Agent Vidal. Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, really good. And what a great character when we see the reveal of who she is, that she's this rival witch that's coming to town to kill Agatha Harkness. And has found, as I say, has found Agnes, this true crime character. But when Agatha comes back to herself, telling Rio Vidal that she just wants to get some more power before she kills her. Why would you kill me now when I'm not at full power? And you see Vidal kind of going, okay, that makes sense. But there are also other people coming. The Salem 7 are also about to arrive in town to kill you as well,
Yeah, they want her as well, centuries old, and they want her end, effectively. They want to end her. I do like the moment because as well, in this reveal and just sort of spiraling back a bit to the teen, because when it becomes certain that Vidal is this rival witch that wants to kill her, I like the way it's introduced, because we see that the teen has actually been kidnapped by Agnes and has been bound and gagged and put in the closet. And she's like, what's happened here? If he's real, then and then Vidal comes breaking through into Agnes's house. Although at this moment she is Agatha, and Agatha using her cunning, because she is powerless here. She has no she has no magic ability, and she, kind of plays it off with, I know you want to kill me, but don't you want me to be formidable?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
as a true opponent, not just someone that you can just cut down easy as pie.
Yeah.
And then, yes, as you say, we hear there's also other witches that are coming for Agatha, very much for the reason that she took other witches' magic.
Well, absolutely.
I think, which we saw in season 1 of WandaVision when you get her backstory, where she effectively destroys her coven.
Yeah, her coven from Salem. So we saw her back at the Salem in Salem, thinking that she was on a witch trial, but actually it was a trial by other witches, and she killed them all. So, so this is the Salem 7, I guess, who are chasing her down. But that does very much lead on to our spell number 4, the reveal of the reality of Agatha Harkness to Agnes. It started with that moment in the morgue as Agnes sees her name written on the toe tag for Jane Doe, saying A. Harkness, as she begins to get that reveal, and then goes into the awesome moment of Agatha Harkness in every costume that she wore throughout the series of WandaVision. I thought that was really cool, as she's going, oh, it's really hot in here, and suddenly she's wearing a big woolly jumper, and then she goes all the way through to her black and white self from the first episode of WandaVision. I thought
it was a great choice.
Such a cool idea.
Really good choice, just to bring it home, to show her going through the ages of her disguises in Wanda's own world while she was there, and in terms of the reason for her wanting to sort of take Wanda's power so that she became even more powerful. So I love that we have Agnes remembering herself as Agatha, and that she's been 3 years trapped in the cesspool of a town that is Westview. I like how Herb, her neighbor, is there to kind of say, kind of reintroduce her back in, where he says, you seem lucid today. They have been, in a sense, helping her. We get these suggestions through this episode and a bit into the next episode where, she's let herself go, at least domestically, in that there's not really much in the fridge, there's not much in the house, and it's been the residents around her, like Herb as her neighbor, kind of helping her, looking after her, but also, and of course the way Agatha takes it is that the town had been humoring her, which is not a great thing, by being the pawnbroker, by being her police colleague, by being by not pretending that they know who she is and going along with the fantasy of the true detective. So I really enjoyed that. As I said,
it's really important though as well. The end of WandaVision, while we dealt with our major characters of Wanda Maximoff, who went off and eventually, went on to be the villain of the Multiverse of Madness, the big thing that was left at the end of the season was what happened to the residents of Westview. These people had a massively traumatic experience. They knew what was going on at all times, and they were experiencing the hellscape that was Wanda Maximoff's nightmares. They were all experiencing that. So what I really like about this resolution to that story, or what's happened with that story, everybody else is able to get on with their lives, and they're looking at this other person that went through it all, who they think is Agnes. She's gone through all of this. They didn't know her as Agatha Harkness. They knew her as Agnes, a member of the town who went through the exact same trauma. So if she acts out, if she pretends that one day that she's a detective in a true crime TV show, they all kind of stand up and go, oh, maybe it'll help if we play along with what's going on in her mind. Maybe that'll help out Agnes, our townmate, effectively. That's what they're doing. That's what they're trying to help Agnes with.
Yeah.
But the other kind of big reveal that may not be as clear in the episode is, since the death of Wanda Maximoff at the end of Multiverse of Madness, that's broken the spell of who Agnes is. Agnes was put under that spell. All of her powers were taken away. She was put into this position of Agnes by Wanda Maximoff at the end of WandaVision. And because of her death, this spell is now weakened, and she's starting to experience something else. This is why she's gone into the true crime thing.
Well, it's the illusion, isn't it? Because she still can't weave a spell. So you see her trying. You saw with the purple magic coming. sort of very Emperor Palpatine from her fingers.
Right.
But you see her trying to weave a spell and realizing that she is without power. It's her kind of feign to Agent Vidal as well, as we said, about, well, you want me to be formidable.
Yeah.
So the death of Wanda Maximoff hasn't given her back her magic ability.
No, not at all. And also, she's still in this character of Agnes, but the death of Wanda Maximoff has almost made the spell threadbare. It's still tying her to this character of Agnes, but everything else in the world is starting to seep back into her. You know, the memories are starting to seep back in. The things that happened to her are starting to seep back in. So I kind of like that. So I wonder if her starting to come back to herself, is that the reason why Vidal is able to find her now? Is that the reason why the Salem 7 are coming to see her now? Because that spell has started to dissipate, the one that Wanda had put on her, keeping her in character as Agnes in Westview. That's why it's happening now, not 3 years ago. You know, you forget how long it's been since WandaVision came out. Like, the last episode came out in January 2021. It has actually been 3 years since that time. So,
well, Vidal says an interesting thing. So I think that Agatha was cloaked when Wanda was there. I think the death of Wanda hasn't cloaked her. So Vidal says after that, you know, she's been after Agatha, because before that she was hiding behind the Darkhold magic that she was trying to then absorb. The other interesting thing here is that in that face-off with Vidal and Agatha, now that she knows who she is and is kind of lucid around the fact that she is a witch, she does kind of bait Vidal to attack her, in the sense that it seems like she's still able to absorb the power, because Vidal says, oh, that's cute because it would kill me.
Yeah.
So that absorbing of the power, like we saw with her coven, like she tried to do with Wanda Maximoff, is possibly still a thing. So that's what could reignite her magic, or her ability to cast magic and weave a spell.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just love this reveal. I thought it was a really well written moment again. That's why you have the showrunner of WandaVision on board, and that's how you tie it back into Multiverse of Madness. This whole reveal worked really, really well.
Yeah, definitely.
Loved it. Our spell 5 really is just the closing out of the episode. Wanda does send off Agent Vidal. Is that her real name? I don't know. Is that just part of Agnes's invention that it's Agent Vidal? I don't know whether she just happened to see her hair treatment products and went, Vidal Sassoon, that's the agent's name that I'm going to give to this witch that comes along, or was that her real name? I don't know, but it closes out with Wanda realizing that she's kidnapped the teen, stuck him in her house, and that he has helped her out, and now she has to deal with that problem, right?
Well, that's it, because he does, in his interrogation, he says, I'm looking for the road, which again, another little bit of a trigger here, and will come in with our episode 2 podcast.
Yes.
But ultimately, you know, he is gaffer taped up around the mouth, bound, and is bunny hopping around as well, wanting to be released. So at this moment, the teen is very much still an unknown.
Absolutely.
Even though I might have an inkling who the teen may be. But I think it gets really interesting in episode 2, which we'll cover on our second podcast.
Absolutely. Speaking of hopping around, we saw Senior Scratchy back as well from WandaVision.
Mr. Senior Scratchy.
Yes, loads of theories back when WandaVision was on as to who could have been transmogrified into Senior Scratchy. But he's back. He's there, at least, being taken care of. So,
who he is. And equally with the teen at the police station, we do hear Detective Agnes saying, you know, he's got no name and there's no details on the system.
He's
not on the system. Yeah. And then the final little kind of note thing I've got is that we also have Mrs. Hart as well, because she knocks over the teen as he's running from Agnes as she's chasing him down after catching him breaking and entering into a house.
Yeah.
So we do have old Mrs. Hart from the 70s show.
Yes, and from WandaVision, of course.
And of course from WandaVision. Yeah.
Deborah Jorup, yes, just knocking down somebody. And again, they had interactions throughout season 1 of WandaVision. So when Agnes is going, get away from him, she seems to look at her like she doesn't know who this character is, who this person is. So another person in this fantasy who's playing another character, Mrs. Hart, just playing a woman driving a car, I guess, in this scene. But I'm sure we'll talk much more about Deborah Jorup playing Mrs. Hart as the season goes on. Any other notes? Anything else we want to talk about before we close out this episode, John?
No, the only note is that the brooch, or should I say the locket, as they discover that Agatha finds, which is the one that she has, it's got a piece of her in it. And that on the front of that, the figures are of the maiden, mother, and crone.
Ooh, very good, very good. Yes, a lock in the locket.
Any notes from yourself, Derek?
Nope, no other notes from me.
Excellent. In which case, do you defend Agatha All Along, episode 1, Seekest Thou the Road?
I absolutely defend this episode. I really enjoyed jumping back into this world, and I wasn't expecting it. When we turned on these episodes, I was expecting a brand new show with Agatha Harkness in there that would deal with the situation really quickly. Something like Wanda Maximoff dies, and then, the spell is broken, Agatha Harkness is back. Whereas opening it with this episode that's a nod to a true crime show instead of a nod to comedy shows from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s that was WandaVision, worked really, really well for me. I loved the idea that this is how you would open up the second season, because everybody's in on the joke this time. Last time, even though we saw 3 different episodes of the show on the opening day, we weren't in on the joke. By the end of the season, we were.
Yeah.
We got what was going on with Wanda Maximoff. We knew what was happening with her. Whereas when you open this season with Agnes as a detective and trying to break through this spell that's been put on her by Wanda Maximoff, I thought it was a really good tool to get you into the season, and then it's broken by the end of the first episode. So we're not going to see that trope again, or that idea again as we go along throughout the season. It's the way of opening the season and making sure this is WandaVision season 2, and I'm all in for it. I definitely defend this opening episode. I think it worked really well. And having watched the second episode, we know that there's lots more to talk about, and this season's going to have its whole brand new story for these characters. That's really cool. John, how about yourself? Do you defend Agatha All Along, episode 1?
Yes, I do defend this episode of Agatha All Along. I give this 4 maidens, mothers, and crones out of 5. I think this is a bridging episode, and I really like how they've done it, to be honest. I think it took me the second watch to kind of really enjoy it. I think fresh in, it seem a little, dare I say it, procedural. But it's like, when you realize that there is an homage being played to season 1 of WandaVision,
yeah,
and I think just the way it plays out is really, really good. I like that they're kind of riffing on season 1. I think it ultimately does make it, even though it's its own thing, it does make it in the world of WandaVision and connected to that story as well as Multiverse of Madness. So in that sense, it's really, really good. I like the mystery of the teen played by Joe Locke. I like the rival witch agent, FBI agent Vidal, which we don't know her actual name. I love the kind of nugget of the Salem 7, which presumably are her coven wanting revenge.
Maybe, yeah.
That's how I kind of am thinking of it at the moment. And it's great just to have those members of Westview back in for this opening episode. So yeah, I really, really do defend this episode. Give it 4 maidens, mothers, and crones out of 5.
Fantastic. I guess that's it for our first episode. We're not going to talk about the theories that we have about who those characters are because we've got a second episode to record. We will definitely talk about the teen. We'll definitely talk about the characters and what we think is going on in the world of Agatha all along in our second episode. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. Please email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com with any thoughts you have on this season so far of Agatha all along. You can also pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries with your feedback on each and every episode of Agatha all along. But we have one last piece of business for this podcast. We need to pop on over to the Covan's Cauldron for our pub quiz, I think, John.
Yes, fellow defenders, fellow quizzers, welcome to the Cauldron Quiz, which is the Agatha all along pub quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is episode 1, which means, of course, straight into question 1. 2 names are revealed on the toe tag in the morgue, W. Maximoff and A. Harkness. But what dates are beside each name?
Very good. That's the first question of our 6 questions for the Agatha All Along pub quiz. Please email us with your answers at the end of the series to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. Gather together all the correct answers and you could be in with a chance of winning some Agatha Harkness goodies. If you missed any questions throughout the season, or if you do miss any questions throughout the season, pop on over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com. There'll be a pub quiz question page up there for Agatha All Along, which will have all the questions that we're asking on each of the podcasts.
But just as a reminder of question 1, 2 names are revealed on the toe tag in the morgue, W. Maximoff and A. Harkness. But what dates are beside each name?
Fantastic. That's it for our coverage of Agatha All Along. Episode 1 will be back next time with episode 2 of Agatha All Along.
Yes, circle sewn with fate, unlock thy hidden fate. Ooh, yes. Hey, nonny, nonny, here we come.
Really looking forward to talking about that second episode. We hope you stay with us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, fellow defenders, for joining us for Marvel's Agatha All Along. Until next time, remember, keep watching, keep listening, and of course, keep defending.
See you later, witches.
Bye.